All right. Are you there? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Steve. How are you doing? How are you doing, Steve?
Can you hear me?
I got you. Got you.
Good, good. I
Just
was
waiting
planning to
for.
go to Flores, but I'm going to put that on the back burner for the time
Ah,
being, unfortunately.
ah. Good choice. Good choice. Yeah, we've been watching what's
Perfect
been going on
time.
over there on the news.
Absolutely. Crazy decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
forwarded
mean,
on to Fred. I forwarded on to Freddie as well as Sean as well. So hopefully one or two of them
okay.
join us. Yeah,
Perfect. Perfect. We'll see
it joins.
who shows up today. I think a lot of people are on holiday, and next
Yeah,
week I'm going off to Europe for a little bit, so I'll
nice.
probably have a cancel it next week. Gonna
Cool.
get out to Spain before
Lovely.
I head back over to Bali. Yeah.
Where you going in Spain? You know, Granada had a quake as well.
Oh my God! Everyone's having earthquakes,
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
it's a bit scary. I used to spend a lot of time in
Yeah.
southern Spain. I had a girlfriend there, and yeah,
Oh
Granada's
yeah.
beautiful, but it had quite a big rattle. Quite a big rattle. Yeah, what's
Yeah.
going
I
on?
think. I think. Yeah. I think probably the south, Valencia, Seville, maybe those kind of
Yeah,
places. So yeah, I've
Andalusia is
never been to
beautiful.
Spain before.
Super nice.
Yeah.
It'd be roasting hot this time of year though, so just be aware of that. Last time I was in
Yeah.
Seville.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I want
44
the
degrees.
sunshine though.
Yeah, 44
Yeah.
degrees last time I was there. Just a heads up.
That is. Yeah. That is pretty roasting. Yeah. All right. I don't know what is going on today.
Yeah,
Let's give people 2 more minutes, and then we'll go through the agenda. We'll keep it a small one today. There's a few
sure.
interesting things going on, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah, let's give everyone 2 more minutes maybe, and let me
yeah.
message the crew maybe. Let's see what maybe you can go outside. Maybe doing a quick announcement in the cafe. All right,
Do you have
let's
any
just make a
people?
start. People can join
Yeah.
if they want to. I've reached out to BWork and told them to go to the cafe and do a bit of a shout out for it, see if we can get some
Yeah.
people in. So,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so Steve, I tell you what has
Yes.
been going on this week in
Yeah.
the world of AI. I'll share my screen with you.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you! You are very lucky. You've got a one-on-one with me.
1-on-1. Yes. You normally
Yeah,
charge money for this one, right?
I know. Yeah. So this story stood out to me this week, right? So I don't know if you've seen this. Stripe is going to buy OpenRouter. Are you familiar with OpenRouter?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've obviously talked about that a lot. Now it's $7 billion. It's a lot. It's a bit of a mystery. What does Stripe want with OpenRouter?
Yeah.
OpenRouter is picking different models with AI for tasks, and they've just had a Series B funding round of 113 million. And
Yeah.
obviously, Andreessen Horowitz, all of the big boys are investing in them. They're very much a Silicon Valley company. And OpenRouter CEO Alex Alato has described his company as Stripe for AI, since it offers a single point of access to various systems and prevents lock-in with individual providers. So Stripe could be the ideal buyer for OpenRouter, given that the company already handles massive volumes of latency-sensitive, high availability requests, and it's built its entire business on abstracting away payment infrastructure. So it may sound like two completely different industries. Like you've got obviously the payment. Let me add this to the stage. I don't think you saw that. So the headline, Stripe is buying OpenRouter for more than 7 billion. If you think about what Stripe does, which is, as they say, they've essentially simplified the payment methods. They've reduced
Yeah.
friction in it. And then you think about what OpenRouter does, in that it's going after reducing the friction in all the different models. So you don't need 20, 50 different subscriptions. You've got them all from one API. And you think about how latency is basically Stripe's core business, right? Getting the payment done as fast as possible. And then you think about some of the things that we've been talking about in previous weeks about the advances on the blockchain, about trying to sort of pay for things, with micro payments on the internet as well. This could start to make sense, but it's an interesting one that Stripe is now positioning itself, obviously, for the token economy, so to speak. So yeah, this is what I thought was interesting, and I only saw this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to let heads up, there's quite a bit of echo and feedback in the BWork room for some reason. I've tried.
Okay, should we just mute them for now? Yeah.
Yeah, just mute it for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there we go.
that's better. Yeah. Yeah. So I think at some point blockchain will have to enter the AI field because of the security side of it, etc. So I think that's the right direction. So they're trying the first mover advantage option. Obviously, they're very strong in e-commerce, etc. So that I can see that's their kind of logic, really. Obviously, it needs testing and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a good idea. I think the only thing is that AI is massively subsidized, and then when people come to pay the full amount, which is 4 or 5 times the subscription, are people going to buy it? That's my concern. I think some people will, but a lot of people, the domestic users, which are £20 a month, I don't know many people outside of my kind of AI circle, in IT, etc., are willing to pay even the $20 a month. That's the thing. So you have to pay, $80 a month, which I think is their break even to justify the credit. Will it continue? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a smart move. It's a smart move, but do the numbers stack up with AI? That's my concern, really.
Yeah. So, hi, Tuna. If you're just joining us, just to give you a rundown on what we're talking about OpenRouter. This is a sort of a big company where you can pick whatever model you want, and you only need one API key for it. And they are in talks with Stripe. Stripe are going to buy them. So we were talking about how this is quite an unusual move, because Stripe are obviously all about payments, and OpenRouter are an AI company. They're essentially an aggregator. Why would Stripe want to buy OpenRouter? But we said to Steve that there's actually have quite a lot in common in terms of, you think about latency being the core business here, and you need to get payments done very fast. And Steve is right in terms of what he's saying. He's saying, okay, are people going to buy the APIs? Well, first of all, I think like if you're, there's a difference, isn't there? I think between the consumers, obviously on the subscription, and then you've got the business owners as well, who are then charging a markup. OpenRouter, in some ways, is their business is off the back of AI, right? They charge a markup on the models that they use to the user. That's their core business model. So you're already paying more than you would if you were just using the API. Their business model is really convenience. I do use OpenRouter, I have to say, with Claude, because it's just sometimes great to get response from other models, to be able to do a kind of panel of experts of all the top leading models. And obviously you're going to pay, $2 or something for that. But when you want really, really high reasoning, and you really want something to be accurate, it's great. Am I a power user who's like using it every day? No, of course that wouldn't make sense, right, to do that, because you're putting some money on top of it as well. So there's a markup on top of it as well. So yeah, I get where you're coming from Steve, though. But I also think that part of the conversation is also about open weights models now as well, and how can we use these? Are these more affordable than using some of the top tier models, and are we getting kind of the results from these that we need as well? That seems to be, the conversation with people who've got businesses based around AI.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Tuna, did you want to chime in here and say anything? We can get you up onto the stage.
Can you hear my voice?
We got you. Yep.
Okay. So I didn't understand. Sorry.
It's okay. So I'll bring up the article so you can see what we are talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about. Stripe is reportedly acquiring AI startup OpenRouter for more than $7 billion. So are you familiar with OpenRouter? Have you heard of it before?
No, I didn't hear it before.
Okay, so this is OpenRouter for your benefit. So it's a model aggregator. So you top up some money, and then you can use whatever model you want, and you can use one API, and then you've got access to all the different models. So embeddings
you can
models,
create
image
model.
models.
You
No,
can
you
create
can't
model.
create models. These are all the models that exist already. So these models exist already, but this just makes it easier to connect to use. So you can use one API key, and then you have access to all of these. So you can plug this into Claude, and then you turn Claude into all of these different models. So you can use the image generation models, you can use the text generation models, and Claude can go away, call these models, and bring back a response for you. So if you want to try a different model, for instance, if we go to the chat function, we could say, okay, I want to use Qwen, which is an open source model. I want to see what Claude Opus has to tell me about this as well. And maybe I also want to use Grok 4.6 as well. And then whenever you ask it, you're going to get a response from all three of those models, and you can actually compare them.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're saying this service has been bought by, Stripe, the payment processor, are considering buying it for $7 billion. So it's quite an interesting kind of play here from Stripe. Why would they want to buy an AI company when Stripe are obviously a payment provider? But when you start to think about it, they are kind of the same. They're an aggregator. and so latency is their core business in terms of how fast they can actually do things.
Harry, quick question. I don't use OpenRoute.
Please.
I'm maybe mainly a Perplexity guy, as you're probably aware.
Yeah.
Do you burn API credits when you use OpenRoute to the various models, or do you just pay a one fee and you're done per month and you can pivot to any model you want? How does it work?
No, it's not subscription based, it's credit based. So you top
Okay.
up $5, $10, and then you can use that towards any model that you want. And all of those models have got different fees, different rates. So it's
Interesting.
not like Perplexity that you get an
Yeah.
unlimited subscription. That's not their business model, and they're charging a
Right.
markup on all of them. So their business is really convenient.
Mhm.
So if we go on back to OpenRouter, am I still sharing my screen? Yeah, you can see you've got, so you should have some pricing here somewhere. So if I press this, you can see you've got the in-out price. Obviously, this is per 1 million tokens, so $40 out, $3 out. Million tokens, obviously, Qwen being a very cheap model compared to if we were to say look for Claude, and we wanted to get up. We got Fable here, Claude Fable 5. We could see obviously massive increase here, $10 per million output tokens and $50 per output. And so you'd
Right.
be charged on those rates, obviously, pro rata, depending on how much you'd used.
Interesting. So when you buy credits at the moment, who's the payment gateway provider already? They're using, they must use a payment gateway provider already to buy this credit.
I believe from memory it's Stripe, but let's have a look. Credits. We go through it, and I'm always in the minus because they go over.
Yeah.
It's not
MasterCard.
clear who it
MasterCard.
is. Well, that's my MasterCard, right?
Oh,
But you
right.
can put in a
Okay.
Visa if you
Right.
wanted, right?
Okay.
So yeah, we won't put my details in there. It looks like Stripe to me, but it looks like white labeled Stripe to me.
Okay.
So yeah, but it's a good question. Maybe they're using Stripe already. So yes.
I'll ask Perplexity, see what it said.
Yeah.
On OpenRouter.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good deal. I think Perplexity is more a consumer product. I think OpenRouter is more an advanced product, is what I would say.
Yes, correct. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So it says
So go on. Yeah, go on,
OpenRouter
Steve. Yep.
mainly uses Alipay and USDC crypto. It supports Payless, PayPal, Sterling Pro. So that's probably their angle. They're trying to want to funnel everything to themselves, I think, and then take the margin on that. That's probably there. And if there's enough throughput, so essentially it's an aggregator of API credits. They see a lot of revenue per transaction on that, so they want a piece of that pie basically, because the credit cards are 2%, 3%, etc.
Yes.
So that's probably a lot. That's their angle, I think, and Alipay, etc., and USDC. Yeah, I can see why they're trying to do it, because it's a bridge to all these various LLMs buying the credit. So you're essentially sitting across it, all those payment rails. You could aggregate into Stripe, etc. So it could work.
Exactly. Stripe is already an aggregator of payments, and in many ways that's what OpenRouter is. So when you think about it like that, then it makes perfect sense. So
yeah, it's a good synergy. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Let me just check. So okay, so the next thing that's caught my eye this week, which I think is really quite interesting, is this story about, or this video rather, from a guy called Eric Nowalowski, who we have talked about before, but I will jog your memory. like this. So Eric Nowalowski is a sort of the kind of OG king of cold email. So Steve, you've probably come to the meetup a few times, and we've had some of the cold email guys in. Penn and Felix, they're brothers. I think Penn comes sometimes in our community. Ollie, I think it used to be based in Bali, based in London now. And they've all built really successful businesses off basically cold email and offering it as a service. And so the stat kind of used to be that you would go to Apollo to get your data, to get to sort of get a database, but it would be quite expensive, and then you would sort of use Clay to enrich your data to make it better. So it's kind of evolved. You would simply used to go to Apollo, and then these enrichment tools came along, which allowed you to sort of get emails and get data and like enrich it with various things. But now increasingly, a lot of the sort of key players in this space are moving away from these tools, and they're simply just using Claude with skills instead. And I think it's a really, really interesting. And he said this week, basically, he's moved away from Apollo. And in this video, he's going over the skills that he's built and why you can use the skill. He puts out a lot of skills for free, to be honest with you, where you can get some really, really good data from it and just sort of integrate it into Claude per se. And one of the points he makes really, really well is that everybody now really just needs, as the core, the LinkedIn database. That's all anyone really needs is the kind of verified emails and profiles off LinkedIn, and then you can start enriching that data. And essentially, you can just sort of buy that in bulk, or you can pay a subscription to have unlimited access to that, rather than having to pay per data use for Apollo. So we're sort of seeing the cost of data really, really hit a floor here. And that kind of business model, it even feels like it's sort of coming to a bit of an end. And we'll come on to talking about in a minute that he's not the only one who's sort of moving away from some of the sort of tools as well, which were historically quite expensive. But obviously, that means this game is becoming a lot more competitive. There's a lot of people who are trying to enter this space now because it's so easy to send people emails, and people, unless you do it really, really well, are obviously getting a little bit turned off by the sort of constant pitching all the time. Though that's not to say there aren't obviously some really, really great players in this space who are really, really killing it with their messaging.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's going to be more consolidation in that space. I think Claude Code and the Claude kind of family suite of products are kind of pulling away. I think OpenAI is kind of floundering a little bit. It's okay, but they've got privacy issues. So yeah, I see a lot of the, I don't know, the proprietary stuff, etc. The I don't know, new things that people kind of set up. It'll just get absorbed into it. I think that's what will happen, and the one AI will just be like a Swiss Army knife, you know. And I think Claude Code is probably the strongest contender at the moment. Seems to be anyway, from what I'm hearing on the street anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the wider story here is, as you say, it's about consolidation. It is about people simply, it's about consolidation. It's also about the future of SaaS in a way. Like, how can you have a SaaS if you've simply just got a whole bunch of open source tools that you can plug in at any time to Claude that are free to get what you want with that sort of intelligence layer. So it's kind of like, where is your moat in a sense? And no end of people are sort of building tools, but then you sort of feel like, what is sort of is this useful? And if you can just do it with Claude anyway, is there still a moat where people don't realize you can do this with Claude, and and this is actually genuinely useful for people? But it's interesting that even a big player like Eric is starting to say, actually, we don't need some of these legacy tools like Clay.
It's interesting. I mean, and I don't know how long Clay's been around. You've been using Clay for a while, but I thought it was a relatively new kid on the block. You know, it just shows how quickly, like 6 months is a very long time in AI. I think you've been using it for a year or two, but if that's being taken over, it's worrying if you're trying to do an AI startup,
Yeah,
and
pre- pre-
yeah,
precisely. I mean, they've been around for a while, and I think they're very smart. They've got a lot of money behind them, and they're certainly going to pivot. Some people in the space have said they're going to make probably an announcement in like October that will sort of change things. But they've also sort of changed their pricing as well, which I know has quite ruffled quite a lot of feathers as well. But
right.
you're absolutely right that they haven't been around that long, really, in the grand scheme of things. But the fact that people are sort of even talking about that, and the fact that people can move so freely between things, we are entering this new era, I think, of what you can do with software.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say about the ruffling the feathers. That seems to be the model. Uber pulled that stunt in London a few years ago. I started using Uber, and then they were trying to gain market share, the hemorrhaging cash, etc. Trying to put the black cabs out of business, really. And then when I was in London post COVID, that they'd skyrocket, more than double the prices, and the drivers wouldn't wait for you. They give you like a couple of minutes. If you're not there, they're off. So basically, that's the thing. They try and get market share, aggressively price, get people in, and then once you're in the system, then they milk you, and that's the
Yeah,
problem. I think.
yeah. And the interesting thing about Uber is obviously I think that they were on the path to trying to do driverless cars, and then they sort of kind of gave up on that, I think, in the end. And now
Yeah.
Waymo and all of these other people are sort of encroaching on that space because they've obviously eliminated the cost of labor. I saw 2 Waymos driving around in London, Steve. So it's coming to
Already,
the
wow.
future.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're testing. Somebody in the
Yeah.
passenger seat testing them. But two, when I was in London after I landed from Bali, I saw them.
Wow.
So they are coming. They are coming, and I think the plan is to try to get them out by the end of the year. So a few people could be actually using them. So
Interesting.
it's
Okay.
yeah, and think about how far America is ahead of us in terms of that space. They're in about 10 different cities in America.
Yes.
A third of all journeys in San Francisco of ride hailing a third of all ride hailing journeys in San Francisco are now driverless, completely driverless, which is
Wow.
insane. So if you think about that level of progress, and like I said, I think they're in Houston, Phoenix, New York, Miami, San Francisco, LA, and a couple of other places as well. So a fair decent amount of cities, most major cities now in the US are getting these things. I think they might be in Denver as well, in Colorado. So it makes sense that they want to go international as well.
Yeah.
So things move very, very fast now. I think what's happening is things are moving so fast that the ordinary person sort of can't keep up.
Yeah. Correct. Correct. That's crazy. I wasn't aware. I just thought it was a US company. I didn't think they'd made it across to the UK. So they must have got a licensing. They must have greased a few palms to get a license as well, because that was the biggie, I think, at the time.
Yeah. So from what I understand, they've
Yeah.
passed sort of legislation already, and their intention is they're going to pass the part that will allow them to be driverless once they've passed certain safety regulations. So they've kind of
Wow.
worked with them, and they've said once
Yeah.
you're at the point where like we're satisfied, you're satisfied, they'll fast track the legislation to make it happen, and their intention is to try to make it happen this year. So they're
Okay.
working together, I think. So that was certainly the Starmer government's obviously plan. The transport secretary is still the same, I believe, under Andy Burnham. So I don't think that's
Yeah.
changed. I think that's still the plan. But London
Interesting.
and Tokyo are their next major cities they're trying to launch in.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look out. I'll look out for that one then.
Yeah, and then once they're in London,
Sure.
of course, they're going to be in. It won't be long before they're then in, Manchester, Birmingham, all these kind of places
Yes.
as well. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyone in B work yet, or is it
There is
the
no
Maris
one in BWork. This is no one
Wow.
is turned up. So yeah, we're gonna have to think about that. I think everybody's just, to be honest with you, on in holiday mode. So it might have been better. Certainly next week I'm going to cancel it because I'm traveling around Europe. But
Yeah.
we'll probably get a bit of an energy refresh, and then and then probably start it back up in September. I think is probably
Okay,
a good thing to think
cool.
about. Yeah, I think people enjoy it in person more than they do online for sure.
Yeah,
People have
I
told
think
me.
yeah,
So, yeah,
it's
yeah,
always good for networking, but as I say, not everyone can make it. So I think the format's still good to go, and you
yeah,
maintain the momentum. And it's yeah, I think also maybe people are a bit jumpy about the clamp down on various things. I know there's a
yeah,
meeting at Seoul, and they've cancelled their event at Seoul
yeah,
Project. Basically, that they've not run it for a couple of weeks since the Run Club fiasco, basically. So I think
yeah.
that's maybe another thing. Maybe just people are a bit reluctant to turn up because of that kind of dynamic.
Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah, exactly. We'll chat with
Yeah.
you when we're back. I think we're okay running it like this for now. Obviously, not being in the country. It's really just
Yeah.
to be work events. So, and I know Anton is still running his event. So we'll
Okay.
yeah, we'll figure out how
Cool.
to how to play it. We'll game plan it with the powers that be and make sure we're fully
Yeah.
compliant, of course.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but yeah. So a few more things just before I guess we'll just we'll sign off because it's been a bit of a small
Yeah.
one. There's a really good article here about tokens and the token economy. We've also had Grok 4.6 as well. So we've really not talked about Grok at all in some of the meetings, and Grok is now with SpaceX AI, I think. They've sort of merged as one company, so the benchmarks are pretty good. So yeah, nobody's really talking about Grok, but it's obviously they've got a lot of compute behind them, and it's pretty generous from what I understand because of the all the what Elon's doing behind the scenes
Yeah.
with their Colossus and with data and stuff. So I think you would probably be rate limited less than with Claude Code, so that's worth looking into, I think. There was also a model that came out a few weeks ago that I think is worth looking at, and that's Minimax H3. This is an open weights video model, and it scored really, really quite highly. I think it was one of the forgotten the exact specs, but this supposedly produces really, really good results actually, and it's an open weights model. So if you can spin that up, then that's pretty amazing. You can save quite a lot of money on some of the expensive video generation models.
Where's that come from? Is it a Chinese model, Harry? Is that one?
Yeah. Hey, Minimax are a Chinese company, I believe.
Yeah.
So it will go to their website. Yeah, so you can do really cool stuff like this.
Can't see the screen yet. I don't know if you shared or not.
Sorry. Let me share
Yeah.
it. Yeah, this is Minimax. So the H3 model is really good. You could do some of the similar things that you could do with Omni in terms of video editing, doing some really, really cool things. You can do some really, really amazing things with video editing right now and AI. So I don't know if you saw. I'll just bring it up. This is the last G-Core video that I put out. These graphics were all sort of done by AI. So it could cut the whole video, it could put all these graphics on it, it could go out and do all this research to find the things that could need sort of putting over the top of it. So really, really, really good, I think. And these kind of Vox style graphics as well. So and this was all done with the video and image generation models. So yeah.
So with that, Harry, with the video models
Yeah.
and I guess applies a lot of the LLMs. Obviously, once the real token cost kind of comes to fruition, they're subsidizing, burning the gas to gain market share. At some point, the music's going to stop, and someone's going to have to pick a chair to sit on, etc. And then that cost of the chair is going to Sure.
So let me just say, for image and video generation models, you are paying an API cost, or certainly I did. So I spent $60 for that video on
Right.
costs, and I'm gonna. My aim is to try to reduce that, so I don't spend that every single time. To maybe try using some of the cheaper models, and to try to get to, so maybe I don't need as much animation as is in that video. We could do with a few
Yeah.
less. So um and I'm using FAL as well, and FAL are already doing a markup as well. So using FAL so that I could just I can give Claude the autonomy to use whatever model it wants to use. So I don't think it's the same as with the text generation models, to be honest with you, with the sort of subscription. I think that it's different.
But what won't the Chinese models drive the like the sea dance drive out? I don't know, foul or whatever. If if it comes to it, if sea dance is a Chinese model and it's say 1 cent per credit, and the other one foul is say 10 cents per credit, won't they just people will just go by default to the Chinese model, and then ultimately they will gain market share, and then they'll hike the price? Is that what they're doing, like with DeepSeek and Kimi? Is that what they're just trying to kind of eliminate competition, bottomless
Yeah.
pockets
So
from the Chinese government?
yeah, so FAL is an aggregator, and it's an aggregator for video and image generation models, a bit like OpenRouter. It's pretty much the same thing. You top up some credits.
Yeah.
Um, and so I suppose that's my point. The video and image generation models are different. I don't think that China is going to. I think FAL's business model is not going to be affected by that, because FAL will put a markup on whatever they want, on whatever. Um, so yeah, but clearly the Chinese models are trying to drive down the price of the American models, right? And that's a good thing for consumers. Obviously, people are a bit jumpy about using the Chinese models, but like
Yeah.
we said before, you can obviously run them on an American data center. That's possible as well. So,
Yeah.
I, yeah, there's a massive policy debate going on in Washington at the moment about this very thing, right? Which is like, should we be restricting the open source models? How does America fight back against it when every time America puts out a frontier model and charges a lot for it, then obviously China's coming along, distilling the model, and basically putting out an open weights version of it?
Yeah. Did you hear
Um,
that ASML stock dropped because the Chinese have now got an equivalent model, not quite as high end, but it's kind of getting there. They've got like a lithography machine basically, so they've
I
kind of
yeah, I
reverse
didn't hear that.
engineered the SML models.
Yeah, I didn't hear that actually. No, that's
Yeah,
quite interesting.
yeah. But that's the way I see it, is basically, that it's like the car industry, as I said before. I think, it's good in terms of driving the price down, but long term, once the competition is gone, you'll pay whatever they charge. I think that's the problem. And there's, in the UK, there's
Well,
monopolies emerge.
not with open. So not with open weights models, because open weights models and open source models, they're putting them out for free. You see, so you'll pay
Okay.
whatever the data center wants to charge you. So it doesn't. It's not like um, the same as a closed source model. A closed source model, you just pay the company. The company decides whatever they're going to charge you, and they can rack it up. They can put it down. An open weights model, it's basically it's completely for free, but
Mm.
you've got to be in charge of setting up the infrastructure yourself, or paying a third party provider who's going to run that infrastructure for you, who's going to set it up, and then everybody gets access to it, and they charge an API for you, so it'd still be cheaper than paying the closed source model. So I don't think it's the same as like the car industry, because it's like
Okay.
somebody it would be like somebody coming along and saying, um, I built a car that is 2/3 as good as a Jaguar, and it's not quite the same. Like, I'm giving it away for free, or maybe I'm giving you all the raw materials and the plans away for free, unlimited.
Right.
Anyone can access it, but you've got to assemble it yourself.
Right.
Like a
Okay.
flat pack car. Imagine that, right? Imagine it's like it's
Interesting.
free, and
Yeah.
they'll deliver it, but you get like 20 different boxes and the engine and everything all at once, and you've got to try to figure out how to set
Put
it
it
up. So
together.
most people are going to have to pay an engineer to actually set it up for them, and you're still going to have to pay the fuel. So it's
Right.
not quite it's not quite the same comparison, but I see where you're
Right.
coming from, Steve. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. I just
Yeah.
I just have a kind of concern that's like, you know, the Japanese kind of undercut and decimated the UK car industry and American car industry years ago, and I just see history repeating, basically, you know, and it's a bit of a
Yeah,
Trojan horse. Yeah.
they're certainly like undercutting, and but they're also advancing as well. And so I think the Trump administration doesn't really know what to do about this, to be honest.
Yeah.
And is putting out some statements, and there's a debate going on in Washington at the moment about how things should proceed.
Mm. Interesting. Okay, that's cool. Thanks
Yeah.
for the guidance.
Yeah.
Anyway, always,
Yeah,
always
no
good
worries.
to
Yeah.
know what's going on.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah.
wrap this one up. Just a small one this
Okay.
week. Next week, I'm going to be away on holiday. Then I'm traveling back to Bali. So announcements, I think, to come about the next meeting. But certainly next week, I'm gonna be in Spain, so we won't have one.
Yeah.
So yeah, have a great summer, and thanks for joining us as well, Tuna.
Still there, Tuna? Hopefully she
You
is.
still there?
Yeah. There's 4 people still in the chat, I think, so maybe just on mute anyway. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
That's great.
All right, then, Harry. Well, that's good.
All
Anyway.
right.
Thanks
Yeah,
for making the
thanks for
effort.
joining us, Steve.
At least
Yeah.
you got a couple of people anyway. All right. Safe
Yeah,
travels.
exactly. If only one person comes up, then yeah, at least you got
It's
something
always
out
worth
of
it. All right. I'll
Yeah.
see you when you're back anyway. Enjoy Spain. Take care.
Yeah. See you later, my man.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.